all so much for joining. Our second, Maximizing Your Square POS. This webinar is for PYOP ceramic studio users that use Square in their studios. This presentation will be shared with everybody at the end. So as Brittany mentioned, please just hold your questions till the end. Do take notes, have a little piece of paper next to you so you can take notes where you have questions throughout the webinar, and we will answer those at the end. And then, just to introduce myself, my name is Erica Jones. I am the owner of the Turquoise Cup, which is a ceramic studio in Burlington, New Jersey. I am also one of your directors for the board of CCSA. I believe very strongly in the growth of a business being built on its efficiency. And so this series is kind of a passion of mine in that it just helps to make us stronger business owners. And for that reason, I invited Fern Benson to join us. She is a longtime staple in our community. She's the owner of Mr. Toad's Pottery in Western Maryland. Fern has been in business and has been a business owner for over 15 years and is the founder of Accelerated Solutions, which is a practical digital tool for managing your pottery studio systems. She has been a huge help to me in helping to grow my business and really make sense of the efficiency of my studio. And it is my pleasure to bring her gift to you. So with no further ado, thank you so much for joining us, Fern. Our goal for today is we will be identifying the most important Square reports very specifically for ceramic studios. Fern is going to help us to interpret gross sales, net sales, deposits, refunds. We know those terms, but she's going to help us drill down into what this really means for our business, for our industry. She's going to clarify some of those weird Square terminology words and how the reporting structure works. Also to help us spot red flags. And then at the end, just to kind of take notes in what you need to be doing to build a simply monthly review. So with no further ado, Fern, please take it away.
Okay. One thing we weren't going to do today, you skipped your slide
yes,
about we're not becoming accountants today. So, and this is not to replace your bookkeeper, but it is to give you an idea of what reports to look at, and what reports really matter. So the first one, I guess, or should I talk about all of these real quick, or
that's
focus
up
on
to
what
you.
matters?
Okay.
All right. So the first one I like to look at is the sales trends. So if you all have a chance to go into maybe a second tab and open up your Square reports, you could kind of follow along with us. What you're going to do is you're going to go to reports, down to sales, and then sales summary is the first one we're going to look at. This is a basic report, so it comes basic with Square Basics. You don't need to have the Square Plus. However, I highly recommend you have Square Plus or Square Retail because it gives you tremendous viewership into what is going on in your business. So the first thing I like to do is I like to set this for the last 30 days versus the prior year. This is my preference because it allows me to look at overall, how is the business performing against last year, the same time period. That, for instance, this graph here, let's see here. Let's make sure. So this first chart should look, there we go, that's the one. So this is what it should look like, your net sales. So net sales is all of your revenue minus all of your discounts, and that's all net sales is. So I just want to clarify that for everybody. So this is showing the last 30 days versus prior year. And it's showing that we had a 91.17% increase. Now you have to take into effect, into thought like a little bit about what has changed in the last year. So last year, this studio was taking sales on their events on a whole different platform. This year, they started taking sales through Occasion, which then fed into their Square. So what that's doing is it's looking like it's huge growth, but you really have to drill down into the numbers to see what item sales are versus event sales. So you can kind of more with clarity see why your percentage is so increased. The studio or this graph is showing that the studio is doing very well compared to last year. However, once I drilled down a little bit further into the details, they were still doing a 40% increase on regular base sales, studio sales versus their event sales. So that is really important to keep in mind. Anytime you make a change in your studio, whether it's the way that you're collecting payments, you're selling your events, however you're doing things, you need to make sure you make a note of when you did that. So when you're looking back at these reports, you can kind of have a time basis of what changed and what could be affecting these percentages.
So Fern, basically what you're saying is if I'm looking at this report, for instance, that first little hump for 2026,
Mhm.
between Thursday, January 29th and February 2nd, there's this huge increase during that time over what happened last year. So we can kind of just easily see what happened, and then we want to figure out why was there that hump? What happened this year that didn't happen last year?
Exactly. Yeah. And when you're in this live report, you can kind of scan your mouse across and it will tell you what the amounts are. And then you would drill down into your item sales to really get clarity on what is the custom, because custom amount is normally what's used for sales that were sold through occasion, because they're not really a single item, whereas everything else will have some kind of name associated with it. So you can then see what that custom amount was versus your rest of your pottery sales.
Thank you.
Okay. So you're
Oops, stay there.
okay. No, you're good. You're good. So the next one is the sales summary. So this is another basic report. This gives you so much information. First, it is going to notify or tell you what your gross sales are, your net sales, your discounts and comps, your refunds, taxes, payments, everything drills down magically in this one. So as you open up each of the sections, you can click on those. They're like links and they take you right to a full, more digital report. And an example of that would be your discounts. So if everybody was at this screen and you click on your discounts, let's open that up. And then
So just to
once you,
pause here,
yes,
if you're in your square, you go to reports, you go
mhm,
to sales,
yep,
you go to sales summary, and then under sales summary will be that discounts and comps, and that's where we're going to click into right now.
yep. And you should see like on ours, it said 31 orders and it highlights with like a little hyperlink. So you can tell that
See if
that's
I
going to allow you to open up. So if everybody could get there, yep, exactly. So if this was to open, but it's on a screenshot, so it doesn't really do it there. But once you're here, you're going to see that you can click on any one of those transactions. And just like it's showing you on here, it's going to open up what discount was given. And this is really eye-opening. This is where you can catch a lot of red flags. Like you can find out if your employees are maybe giving a discount inappropriately, like if they're not really following a policy, or maybe a policy needs to be created, because you're noticing that, why am I getting this, $9.65 to military discount? Like who's verifying that, right? So this is something to look at. I look at the discounts pretty often. About once a month is good. But you want to look and see, why are they being used? Who's issuing them? You can tell if there's a pattern, if it's the same employee always issuing like a family and friends discount, and you're like, wait, my policy doesn't align with what they're doing. That allows you to stop them and, have a conversation and clarify what the policy is. So that way it doesn't continue to happen and you don't have loss, because it really does turn into a loss. You can also look and see how often they're applied. And um, so another thing, like birthday party bisque, like you can see that this graph shows you that they had $277 worth of discounted birthday parties during that period. So that first of all tells you that there's only one discount applied. So that means that you had one birthday party in that period. And this studio collects the birthday party package price completely upfront, but then correctly adjusts their inventory by checking it out as a birthday party bisque package.
Well, I will
So,
say on
mhm.
Chatter, we have all had conversations about the different ways that we handle discounting our bisque for birthday parties. Um, every studio does it differently. You have the ability to kind of do that however you want. But understanding, I think that this is a really good way to capture that your studio is actually doing it in the way that you have your policy. I was just telling Fern a couple days ago, my one of my staff members tried to adjust pottery by doing 100% manager discount and overinflated my gross sales by $7,000. And
Yep.
now that's like forever just an error in reporting because we can't undo that transaction. So
Mhm.
this is like a simple report to really capture to make sure that your staff is implementing transactions the right way so that it's reporting and you're getting clean data. So this is like so much more important than I think I ever really gave consideration for.
No, and you're right, Erica. And you forever and always now have that little blip on your radar when you're looking back at those reports, and you won't be like, what happened? Because you were on top of it and you saw that mistake, and now, okay, well, that wasn't really what January looked like. So
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So birthday party adjustments, doing it this way, if you don't do just like a basic like a deposit for the party room, and then you charge for the pottery the day of, that's fine. But this person charges for the whole party all up front, and then adjusts the inventory the day of the party. And that's the proper way to do it. So that way your inventory stays accurate. Your several other reports that we're going to go over here shortly will all stay accurate as well. Same with like class supplies and event supplies. Those are all associated with either a class that they had to pull certain inventory from their system, and then they discounted it out as a class supply. So that's like an event that was fully paid for, and then they just used the event supplies that day and checked them out of their system. So those are all really good ways of using your discounts, because it manages your inventory too.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So if we go to labor versus sales, this is an incredible report because I see it so often on Chatter. Like, how much should our sales versus labor be? Blah, 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 blah. So the biggest thing that you need to know when you're looking at this report is it does not factor in any kind of manager or studio owner that does not clock in. So any human that is not clocking in to your system and your um, inside of Square, it is not going to calculate that person's income. So even if you pay yourself on payroll and you just automatically get a salary, it's not going to count that salary in these numbers, which is awesome because when you're looking at your labor versus sales report, you want to be looking at like your actual labor humans versus your actual sales that they're deriving, that they're delivering for you. So I put a couple of areas here, like a strong and efficient percentage is anywhere between 18 to 24%. I know that everybody is going to run just a little differently, but it's something to consider to see where you're sitting. A healthy and sustainable level is 22 to 28%. And then a cautionary zone is kind of in that 30. So at 30%, if your labor is at 30% of your sales, you might be overstaffing. You might be staffing during slower days. And maybe your staff is doing stuff that's readying themselves for like the busier times, but you really have to take a step back and go, are they staying as busy as they need to? Am I efficiently, scheduling everybody? And then also, are you underpricing? That could be another indicator that you're underpricing your pottery. So this is a super powerful report for scheduling any kind of, or scheduling your staff. So when I'm looking at like a slow time, like so May for us is always really slow. So I always look back at last May and I look at every week and I kind of just gauge how well did we do efficiency wise, percentage wise. If I was really high, like I'm going to go, okay, I need to lower my labor a little bit during those weeks just to get us through that lean time. And vice versa is true when it comes to like really busy times in like December. And you're thinking, okay, which week is the slowest? Which one's the busiest? Which one do I need to really pack the staff? And it really helps to look at these labor versus sales reports. And I look at these probably at least monthly. I would highly recommend every time you're, starting to look at these reports, looking at them weekly is really healthy because you're really getting a more of a pulse on your business. So if we continue down, okay, so Square for retail. So Square Plus and Square for retail offers some amazing reports that are going to help you really get a better idea of how well your business is doing. So your cost of goods sold report. This report will track your items cost, your profit margin, your net sales versus cost. It gives you everything. So you can see we're looking at just January here, and their total cost was like $2,000. Their total revenue generated was around 19,000, and their total profit comes out to 17, which they have a very healthy profit margin of 89.6. Now, you also have to take into account that they are also selling their events through their Square. So if we scroll down on this report, you would see that this one doesn't have it, but if you would square on the real live one, it would have a custom amount, and that amount is all income, because it's all events. It's, so something to, always keep that in mind when you're looking at this profit margin, and you might have to do some manual tweaks to it. Your strong margin is going to be anything over 88%. Sustainable is anywhere between 83 and 88%. And so if I were to actually look at this as the studio owner, I would hold out the events pricing and like kind of subtract that from the total revenue and then really get a clear look at where my percentage is. And if I'm guessing I would be somewhere in that 84% because this studio does a lot in events. Anything below 83% is a time to take a step back, look at your pricing, look at how your mix is. You want to start thinking about how can you increase your sales because 83% is really low. An important report is only as good as the data entered. That is such a good point because as you see on each of the line items, it's got the cost of goods sold, the average cost, and then the average revenue. So that average cost has to be put into each and every single one of your items. If it's not there, it doesn't compute. So that's why it's
And
so important to have accurate cost.
And if I can interject here, if you do take a moment in your other tab, folks, to go into your reports, go to inventory, go to cost of goods sold, one of the great things about Square is that it will also show you at the top. You should, if you are missing any items that don't have the cost, because it can't tell you what the cost is if you don't input the cost when you first are doing your inventory. And so if there are items that went into your inventory that the cost of the item wasn't put there, Square will give you a red alert at the top. Hey, these are the items that don't have cost. Click here, and then you can easily see, okay, these are all of the items that I need to go back and fill the cost so that you can have an accurate report. So this report isn't going to really work for you until those items are updated. Now, Fern, can I ask you a question here? You mentioned that um, um, the events can kind of, I guess, skew this
Yes.
number.
Yeah.
So would you say that it would be helpful to, if we understand the cost of a party, not including labor, um, but like the overall cost, that we input that into the cost of an event as an item or service?
Yes. Um, and I will say I just calculated what this studio's, let's see here. So this was 85% is actually their profit margin. So they're still, without their events, they're still looking at 85% profitability on their pottery. So events typically are covering the cost of, the food table or just the little extras that we're doing. But some events are, full events where you're charging for a full project. So that's why it's so imperative that whenever you're doing like a pottery project, that you're taking that item out of inventory by discounting it out, calling it a class supply or an event supply. So then that way this properly calculates everything. So,
Somebody make a note for us to go back and not talk about that at the end. I'd love to hear
okay.
more about that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so next up is our inventory sell-through. This is my most exciting, I love spreadsheets and I love a good report. This is one of my favorites to use, and I use this, I would say not necessarily like a monthly thing, it's every time I order. So anytime I'm ordering, I'm going to change what supplier I have listed. It depends on what I'm ordering. So if I'm ordering for like Easter, for instance, I might look back at the last 12 months because it would give me everything for last year. And then if I'm looking specifically for the egg, I can look at egg and you can see down here where it says figures, egg, it's C80370, so that last one. You can see that on hand, I have 499. I have sold 846 in the last 12 months. Okay. And that's saying that I have a sales velocity of 2 per day, which is going over the full year, which is, I know that seems crazy sauce, right? To have it divided out that way. But when you're looking back for a specific seasonal time, looking back at that 12 months is going to be super helpful because you can see, oh, well, I sold 846 last year. I probably need to order another 400 just so I have enough to do all the schools and all the things. The other thing you're going to notice on this report, so if you were just going in to not order like I was just showing you with just a specific item, but let's say we were looking at Chesapeake. So you can change the vendor to just Chesapeake, for instance, and then you can click on the sales velocity header and it will order everything in order, or I'm sorry, the sell through. I'm sorry, the sell through percentage over here to the left. Yeah, so if you click on that one, it will put everything in order in terms of 100%. the fastest selling item to the lowest and more in stock items. So it'll be out of stock, highest selling, and then it'll automatically order them down to what you currently have stock of and that slower moving stock perhaps. So that's really helpful because you can go through all of the 100% once it's all sold out, you know that you need to reorder it. And you can come over and you can see when you last sold it, when you last received it. So looking at this first item here, you can see that it was last ordered in March of last year, and then it was last sold here in February of this year. So you can see that that's not an item that sells the rest of the year after Easter, most likely. And you could look at the item and go, okay, well, is it because I ran out of the item right before Easter and that's why we never sold it again, or I never ordered it again until recently, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of new numbers here that are really helpful for you. The other thing, that sales velocity section, it tells you how often you're selling something. So if you look halfway down, like that duck egg, right now it says that there's 2 per month that we sell. We currently have 156 on hand and 30 have sold in the last year. So that tells me that I probably don't need to order right now. I've over ordered years ago, or some period before. And where it says last received as December 31st, 25, that's the day that we last counted it. So you can actually go directly into, and we're going to show that in a minute, but you can go directly into an item and see all of its history from the time that you first put it in your system to the last time that you sold it, to the last time you counted it, everything. So we'll go through that shortly. But your inventory sales through is a report that you're going to get on retail or on Square Plus, and it is so important to use. It's vital. If you've never used this spreadsheet or this this report before, you're going to be like, wow, this is so much easier to order now. So all right. So now we've got, all right, gross versus net sales. So all money before discounts, refunds, and fees is what your gross sales are. And then your net sales are going to be your gross sales minus any kind of discounts and comps. And then your deferred sales, so like liabilities that are on your liabilities side of your balance sheet, it would be like your gift card sales. So you're great. You sold a gift card. You sold a whole bunch of gift cards in December, but you know they're going to come a knocking and they're going to want that money. So that is a liability. It's not necessarily income. And then you've got your sales tax that you have to pay and any tips that you now need to pay out to your team. And then any kind of refunds that you may have had to issue. So your total sales is actually net sales minus all deferred sales. Okay, so that's just a couple of the terms that you'll see how Square lays it out. All right, so your net total take-home amount, this can be found in your reports, accounting, and then into fees. So you can see your net total is going to be your total sales minus any processing fees, gift card load fees, and third-party occasion fees. So your processing fees is what everybody's being charged when they swipe or key in a number. Keep in mind that if you're keying in numbers, it's going to be a higher percentage rate than it is if it's swiped at the register. The gift card load fee is straight across 2.5%, no matter what amount it is. It's just an automatic charge. And then your occasion fee, I'm not sure what their percentage rate is, but they have a standard percentage fee as well. So then that gives you your real take-home number after all of those things have been deducted.
That was all I have for us for today, but I know we wanted to walk back through some inventory sell through. So I didn't have any, it's hard to pull that screenshot. So I don't have that. But is there a page that
do you want me to
go
to a live
Sure.
shot of it?
I will stop my sharing.
See if I can go throw this into, let me go over to my business real quick and I'll open that up. All right. So this is, you're going to love this little sheet once you get into it. Okay. All right. Allow. I feel like I need a person to take care of this. Okay. Are you able to see my inventory sell through sheet?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So on here, I have the 12 months. If I wanted to, if I was placing an order for Chesapeake, for instance, I'm going to look at my last 30 days because when you're placing orders, it's so helpful to have turns. So if you're looking at 30 days, that's 12 turns in a year. So you're not over ordering because I tend to over order. I know I do. But I can come down here to just my Chesapeake studio and then I can click on sell through. And then this is showing me, well, look here, I somehow sold a negative one. So I'm sure somebody rang up the wrong item right here. You know, it's just that kind of thing happens sometimes. So you can see that these are all put in order by what's sold out. And so I can easily go into Chessie and just type in these SKUs and say, okay, I need to order. This is I ordered or I sold one per week. This maybe comes in a set of 8. So I would only need one case. But then down here where it says I sold 3 per week, and these come in a pack of 12, 3 per week, I would need at least one case to get me through the next month. So it all depends on how often you're ordering. If you're ordering every 2 weeks or every week, you can change that to adjust it down to like 14 days. And then that way you can clearly see what you're selling through and how quickly. And it also tells you when you're going to be out of stock. So I was out of stock on all of this yesterday, apparently. And then in 14 days, I'm going to be out of stock. So at this point, it's kind of like you have to make the decision. Do you have enough in your budget to order another chef mug? Or do you want to just hold off until your next ordering time? Okay, so that it helps you just make more reasonable decisions when you're placing orders. Any questions on this sheet that we can answer?
So it does look like we have a lot of really great comments and questions. So I would love to just throw out there. So I saw that somebody asked for the link to part one of this presentation. So this Square series is going to continue. I believe strongly that Square is a really strong POS system. Yeah, the fees and stuff might seem like, oh, there's some other processor out there that can, do lower processing, but none of them can offer all of the features that Square offers. And because Square is just kind always advancing, always adding on new features, I feel like this series is necessary because it kind of keeps us up to date with what is very specific to our industry. So that being said, I did see somebody else talk about utilizing the Teams aspect of Square. Um, Thank you for that. Like, if you guys are having trouble, like, just in our interactions on Chatter, issues that come up will kind of go into the bucket of things that we should address for a series later. So this is good. We can totally do like a Teams utilizing Square team in our studio and or in our studios. So do feel free to like continue to throw those ideas out there. We're not going to address team stuff today because we do really just want to focus on reports. It's so deep. So just first, thank you so much, Fern, for sharing all of that wisdom. I know I learned a bunch. And I will be referencing back to this webinar just to make sure that I'm pulling these reports in the right way and like I'm really using that data to analyze. The next question that I see is, can item cost be entered with the free version of Square, or
No.
does it require Square Plus?
It absolutely requires Square Plus, and it is worth every single penny. I think it's now $35 or $45 a month instead of 60 or $55 a month. I don't know. It's ridiculously cheap. It is worth every penny. You get so many reports. As you can see, these inventory reports are all based on having Square for Retail. And this aging report, this aging inventory, I actually helped that along because I'm a beta tester for Square as well. So
Which is
it
why
was
we
cool.
got you. Yay for us, you guys. Seriously, like that's fantastic to have somebody with this kind of experience in our industry and also just willing to share it with us. I really think it helps push us all along. So just seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
And
that we as an industry have somebody like Fern that is able to provide our industry needs to the people that are making the software, making sure that it's applicable for us. So, like, thank you.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I will just address one thing. If you do sign up for Square for Retail or Square Plus, and you need help getting all of that data in, that is something that I can help you with through Accelerated Solutions. I have a lot of cost data that I can help manipulate your back end and really get everything entered so it's not such a painstakingly process. So
um, the next question was for people that are entering their cost of goods sold. Do you also estimate your glaze use and kiln cost when you're doing that cost of the item?
no, absolutely not. This is literally just your BISC item. Your accounting software is for everything else. So that is where you would separate out your invoice and say, this is how much bisque I bought, this is how many kiln supply pieces, for maintenance, and this is all my glaze. And that's how you separate it out into your like into Xero or QuickBooks or whatever accounting software you're using. And that's where you're going to drill down and see that in your profit and loss statement. You'll it's just better to keep it there.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, Deborah asked, best way to go back and input cost for existing inventory. Um,
Hire Fern. But no,
right,
you
yes.
you can export your entire inventory and in Excel, and you can type everything in by hand if you'd rather not hire me. I understand. But otherwise, there I have some really nice systems that make it quick and easy to do for you.
Yeah. Uh, Patty mentioned that you can export into a spreadsheet and enter them, import like we did during the last webinar. That is a process that I got from Fern. I feel, Stephanie said, I feel like I need one person just to take care of all of this. Again, that would be Accelerated Solutions. Um, and also just, I don't, we'll talk about that later. Is it better to add items in the system as you place them on the shelf or add it when the order comes, even if you don't plan on selling it right away?
So that's a little bit of a quirky question, right? So I like to place the order and then I remember the day that I'm getting a notice that, hey, it's being delivered. So I jump into my accelerated smart stock manager and I type in all of the order, the SKUs, and then it pulls everything in and I upload it to my system. So it goes pretty quickly. It takes me about 15 minutes to enter those items. I like to enter either the day that it's coming or right after it has arrived because I like to have my tags ready to go out on the shelf. But if any damages come through, the Smart Stock Manager also has a column. Thanks to Charlotte, she actually requested that we had a damage column. So we can damage out items so it doesn't automatically add it to your system before, and then you have to do all this back work to correct your inventory. So it's really up to you and how you process your inventory. I recommend you put it into your system when you get it and put it on the shelf, at least by the time it gets on the shelf, because how are you going to sell it if it's not in your system?
Right. Thank you. Um,
How did you get to that again? What was the question? So if inventory is listed.
so if inventory is not listed, it's because I have Square Plus. No, it's well, I don't want to answer that, but if inventory is not listed where, you should still have access to inventory in any level of Square that you have.
Well, not the Square reports. I'm wondering what Square Plus actually has. Okay, it's $49 a month. See, I was all over the place with my guess.
Well,
Um,
actually, because so what's very weird is maybe I would say November, I got an email from Square that they're now doing this bundle. There it is. So I
mhm.
do 150 a month, which is Square Premium, and it includes all of that, and that's it. It includes everything that I used to have. So I used to do Square very a la carte. My bill was with all of the different functions because I use marketing, I use just all the different things. And it was like $283 a month that I was spending in Square fees. And then, like a couple months ago, they consolidated a bunch of the different a la carte options. And so now it really just made a lot of sense. Yeah, all of those extra things that premium has.
Yeah, so all premium or Square Plus has these reports, which if you don't have those reports, it means that you don't have Square Plus or Square for retail.
So at bare minimum, we should be operating at Square Plus.
I agree. And I mean, that's only $50 a month. I'm paying 60 still because I'm still on Square retail, but whatever. I'm afraid of changing because I've been on it for so many years, but I think it'll be fun. Can you chat a little bit more about class supplies used as a discount to account for the removal of inventory? Yes. So to clarify that a little bit, let's say you have a kids' night out event and the kids' night out event costs $35 for the ticket. And during the event, they're all doing the same plate project. Okay. So this is how we do our kids' night outs. So they all draw the same kind of thing on a plain plate. So at that evening, we go into the system and we say, okay, we're taking out 20 of these, 8-ounce or 8-inch plates, and then we discount them as a class supply. That's how it just depends on what you call your discounts. It could be a kids' night out discount. You could do it as simple. You could very, very cleanly put it in there for exactly the type of event that you're doing it for. And that allows your inventory to now equal it, to balance out. So now it doesn't show that you have 20 more plates than you need. So when you're going to your sell through report, you're not under ordering because you are now missing 20 plates. And if you don't have it allocated somewhere, then it's showing that you have more than what you actually have on hand. Does that make sense, Erica?
So I'm thinking about that in the term of what just happened. So, as I mentioned, I had an event that was initially paid for a school. They paid via check, but it was sent out as an invoice. But then my staff member then later went back and entered the inventory and then discounted it with her 100% manager override. But then what
Mhm.
that did was Square still read that as a transaction. So even though the final amount was $0, the transaction was recorded in my gross sales as $7,000 and overinflated my report. So if you're going in and you're doing it as a class supply, is that a
Mhm.
100% discount
Mhm. It
that
is, yeah.
happens in the event booking
Yeah.
or in the event
Well, in
transaction?
not in the event transaction, but it's happening outside the event transaction because you're pre-selling your tickets for your event,
Correct.
for this kid night out, for instance. So it depends on. So on my platform, I collect everything from Stripe for my event. So that's on a whole nother platform. So it doesn't really affect my sales inside Square. But when I go to check those out, it will show an elevated, maybe $100 worth of plates were sold, but then $100 worth of plates were discounted. So it does show an inflation of gross sales, but my net sales will still be accurate. And then when I go back in and I drill down into that report, I can see, oh, that discount was for kids' night out. That's why that happened.
Mhm.
So it corrects the inventory though, and it tracks everything safer, because what's happened now is those plates, that cost for each of those plates is now in your cost of goods sold report, which is going to reduce your inventory on your zero or your bookkeeping portion. So that way it reduces the inventory that you have on hand. I will say that I've been doing it this way since 2020 when I started offering birthday parties and everything. I've always discounted birthday parties that way or events that way. And my accounting books, when I go to do my inventory at the year end, I have maybe a $50 discrepancy in the amount that my actual accounting shows versus what my square shows, because everything has been tit for tat, pretty well accounted for.
Thank you.
Good question though.
Next question. Megan asked, on the note of discounts for party pieces and class supplies, that does affect your gross sales, correct? Like inflates it. Yes, you just, thank you, answered. Sorry, we answered before, but, do you connect with your accounting software and then have the correct gross sales in there?
I enter all of I also bookkeep on the side through Accelerated Solutions, because the way that we bookkeep is a little different. And I do track our cost of goods sold directly from Square into my bookkeeping. I don't know, that doesn't probably answer the question, but yeah.
Does that answer the question, Megan? That's kind of the answer. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Patty then asks, so do your healthy business percentages take into account that your cost of goods sold is actually higher? Mm. So for instance, if you're not factoring in your kiln energy, your glaze supplies, because that gets counted in your, regular balancing sheet. Those percentages that you're seeing in Square won't really reflect that.
Right. And they're not meant to. So those percentages that I said, what's healthy, what's strong, what's, maybe a little bit worrisome, those are looking at the Square profit margin. And that is literally the cost of that plate versus how much you're selling that plate for. You need to have somewhere in that 88 percentile of profit margin.
Yeah, I think, did you see that post on Chatter where the guy did the TikTok and it was a easy business? I think Aaron posted that video. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, where, oh, it's just an easy business. It's just money, that 90%. Yes, if we were all operating at 90% profit, it would absolutely be like the ideal business. But I see what you mean. So then we now need to understand that all the other expenses are going to reduce what your overall business profit margin is.
Yeah, because this is not your real, this is like your bisque profit margin. Let's put it that way. This is what your markup is. This is what your markup is resulting in.
And allows to pay for all the other things.
Yes, exactly. And then everything kind of trickles down. And so yeah, your profit margin in the end, after you take out, what your labor is. It depends if you're taking out your event supplies. It depends on a lot of other factors that come into your profit and loss statements.
Another great question I see is, how do you inventory your glaze and such? Do you put them in Square as a non-purchasable item?
Absolutely not. Nope. I have thought about doing that, and I thought differently very quickly. I thought it's a lot easier to just track that as a glaze supply that automatically comes off on my my profit and loss statement. And separate that out from my bisque that is then going into my inventory. So I do not inventory it that way. I have a spreadsheet that we use to count our glaze so that I can place our orders for glaze, but it's not necessarily an inventoried item because it's a supply.
Got it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's,
That's a great
I guess the
question.
other answer there is it's costed right away. It's not held back and said, oh, I've got, so many more bottles of glaze.
Right. The next question was, have either of you played with using events, part of Square, to run classes and events through their platform? I used it for a few classes, events that I've hosted so far, and have really enjoyed the process of keeping it all in one place. Um, I can speak for me first in that I really hate using 17,000 different softwares to manage my business. I don't like I and for me, that's why I really love Square. I use it for team, for my scheduling. I use it for marketing. I use it for loyalty. I use it obviously for processing sales. I do the reports, all the things. So of course, I did try at some point in the beginning of my business to use Square. I've really tried, and for me, it's just it does not do what I need it to do. I need it to have just all the different functions that I need from it. It just doesn't do. And I can say, because they are also a CCSA supplier, is Occasion for me was the absolute best out of everything, because of the fact that the big winner for me was gift cards. Gift cards, when you are selling them in the store, plastic, versus people buying gift cards online and not being able to use the gift cards for classes. So, and Square works with Occasion works with Square to make it where you can use a Square gift card on the Occasion platform, also in store. It's just worked really, really, really well for me, and has a really great reporting structure as well. Fern, what about you? What say you?
I have not used the events platform within Square. I have been using Square since 2011, and I have watched it grow from just literally a credit card processor to what it is today. And when they came out with events, I was already very well comfortable with Wix. I had used Occasion when I first started the studio, but I kind of went back over to Wix because it was free. Like it was free I was grandfathered in. So there were no fees there. All of the features that I wanted were there. So it made it easy to kind of just stay there. But I will say that Occasion has a lot of really great features that Square is not all the way there with yet. And I mean, I will say that same thing with like reporting or staffing. Like there's the staffing team section of Square. I still don't use it. I still use Join Homebase because Homebase just has all the features, everything's there, and it makes it easy enough to integrate together. So good question though about Square. I do have a client that has Square for events, and I will say that I don't think she's exactly happy with them. I'm not going to completely speak for her, but we've had conversations about
Yeah.
changing it. So,
Like, and I don't know if Square does, like I've really tried. That's the one thing. Events and appointments is the one thing that I do not use on Square. So I will work on, if we're gonna ever do that as a webinar, I'm gonna have to really find some professional,
mhm.
well-versed studios that are using it successfully in their studio. But I need roster. I need there's a lot that the last time I checked in. And again, like they're always developing. Square is always developing. So,
Yeah.
at some point they might, as of right now, it might be a function to use. I'm so happy with where I'm at
Mhm.
um, for my event processing that I don't see myself leaving. It's built around how we do classes, occasions. So, um,
I do want
ooh, excellent.
ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
Somebody
go
had
ahead.
an
I was going to
excellent
say
question.
there was one question here that I saw earlier, and I think it was Megan's question about how it looks like it's overestimating your gross sales, but your discount comes right off of that. So your net sales is right there. So it's already gonna offset the gross sales. So anyway, all right. Move on to the next question. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. Is there an easy way to track gift cards for end of
Yes,
year reporting?
absolutely. So your gift cards report is right here under payments. And hold on, I'm sorry. It should be, it's under one of these. Accounting. Let's see here. I know that like payment methods, it does calculate.
It's actually in the
Gift cards. There it
presentation.
is. It's right under
Yep. Okay.
sales. I was jumping
Can you do
ahead.
that track again? Can you read out that track
Yep.
again?
So it goes
So,
sales, gift cards. So it's
okay, so
reports, sales,
reports,
gift cards.
sales, gift cards.
Yep. And so you can see how many activations you had in the time frame that you're looking at, whether they're plastic or digital, how many refunds you've given to a gift card. I will give everybody a huge hint here. If you are kind of like sick over the fact that you're getting charged for gift card processing, like to load a gift card, but you need to refund somebody, like do a remake because of shivering, right? We will refund to a gift card and there's no processing fee for that. So FYI, there's no load fee. Anyway, it will also talk through your redemptions, plastic versus digital, your refunds, whether they're digital or not, anytime that you've cleared a balance, and refunded purchases, and then your total net amount. And it'll bring down to your what your load fee is and everything as well, versus plastic versus digital. So that's nice to see because you can still sell digital even if you are not using Square's website. You can go into your payments into, I'm trying to remember which one it is now. There's a section in here. Maybe it's not, maybe it's in items and services. There we go, gift cards. So when you go into your gift cards and you go to e-gift cards, you can actually go in here and find your link. So here's your link right here. And you can copy that and make that a, I'm going to go to Mr. Toad's Pottery just to show you. You can make it a button on your site that literally will just go to that link. Okay, so you can sell gift cards online very easily that way. I know I kind of divulged from the report. Sorry, guys. So, what other questions do we have?
That's it really for questions. And we are of time. I want to respect everyone's time. But thank you guys all so much. I did see a bunch of comments asking for guidance through another series on Teams. So yes, we'll get that planned for you and then let you know of the dates. I would also say that Fern is a huge sharer of information. So she's already, invited you to contact her if you have any questions about how to kind of get your Square reports operating efficiently. If there are no other urgent questions, thank you guys so much again. And thank you, Fern, for taking this time.